Hi, and welcome back to Treasurefield Homestead. I just took some roosters to be processed at a state-licensed poultry processor for the first time, and I'm making this video so that anyone who wants to know what the process is like or is thinking about doing the same, they can hopefully get some useful information from my experience. Now, this is not meant to be a review. I'm simply sharing my experience, the highs along with the lows, and I'll share as many details as I can because I'm the kind of person who always has 1,000 questions about these things since I wasn't raised on a farm and this is all new to me. There are no state licensed poultry processors in my area, so I ended up going to a facility about 2.5 hours away. Why bother when I can process them myself, you might ask? Well, I have done that in the past with a friend's help, but if I want to sell chickens at a farmer's market, which I do, this state requires that they be processed at a state licensed facility. I also hope to raise turkeys for Thanksgiving in the near future, and by near future I mean like next year, not this year, and sell those as well. So the main purpose of this trip was to see what the experience is like so that I know how feasible those future plans might be. I looked online for state licensed poultry processors. I picked one and I called but was told I need to send an email to make an appointment. Everything was scheduled via email, and I don't think that that's typical because I attempted to do this in the past and I didn't end up going through with it, but at that time everything was done over the phone. And in this case, I was not given any instructions via email, but their website had a very useful what to expect and frequently asked questions section, which told me not to let them eat for 24 hours before their appointment and to give them water, which is the same rules as when my friend processed my roosters last year. Okay, so there are 4 roosters going to be processed. Original and extra crispy, who were hatched out of eggs from my homestead, and then the friend I gave the hatching eggs to, she needed to rehome the roosters. I asked her if it was okay if I ate them. She said yes, so I got 2 of her roosters. And here, I think I'm going to give him a bigger crate, but this is Jukebox. He was sold to me as a silky pullet, and I asked, how do you know it's a pullet? Because silkies are very hard to sex unless you have a blood test done. And they said, I don't know, the box just said pullet. This was at the feed store. And both of the silkies I got turned out to be cockerels. So I'm keeping one who was a gift, and Jukebox is leaving. He's the only one I'm kind of sad about. And then Spokane here, he is half Easter Egger, half Siami. He, unfortunately, I'm pretty sure he went on a murder spree and killed a bunch of chicks. So I'm not really too torn up about poor Spokane. But he was born in April, so he is barely old enough to be on the strip. The facility I chose was pretty busy. I reached out on September 10th asking for an appointment for 4 birds, and my appointment was set for the earliest available date of September 23rd at 7:45 a.m. And by the time my appointment came around, they were completely booked for the rest of the year. And by the way, yes, I did say just 4 birds. Like I said, this was a test run, and I only had 4 roosters old enough to be processed. I do not raise broiler breeds. That's a story for another video. So these were 4 laying breed roosters. So the facility is supposed to be a 2.5 hour drive from my house, but you have to drive through a large city, like a huge city. And between the morning traffic and the crazy exits in the area, which I just kept missing, I ended up being about an hour late for my appointment. There's almost no traffic in the area that I live unless you happen upon a cattle drive. So I wasn't used to the traffic, but still it was a mistake to leave when at the time I did. I only had 15 minutes of leeway. I tried calling to ask if they would even take the birds that late when I realized how late I was going to be, but no one answered. Online, the facility said that there would be a $60 late fee if you were more than 15 minutes late. But thankfully, I was not charged for that. But even so, if I go back, I'm not going to make the same mistake. I'm going to leave a lot earlier. The online instructions said that when I arrived, I should go to the poultry processing office, but the door to that was locked. There was a farm store at the same location, like they were connected. And a worker there let me into the processing facility, and one of the processors helped me fill out a form, or they had me fill out a form with my information, and then he filled out the rest of the information, asking me questions about how I'd like the birds returned, parted out or whole, and if I'd like the feet, head, heart, and livers and stuff like that. They have their prices listed online, and I already knew I wanted to pay an extra $2.75 per bird to have them parted out into 11 pieces, just to save me time. But I was told that they don't do that for roosters, and I cannot understand why not, but I did not press the issue. I also asked for the feet to feed my dogs, and they asked if I wanted them peeled or not, and I opted for unpeeled. Next, they had me drive around to the back and drop my roosters off right next to the kill cones, and that made me feel pretty guilty. Most of the birds I saw that were already there were Cornish crosses and turkeys, and workers were actively putting birds into the kill cones, so I got out of there as soon as I could. And I know I need to get used to it, but I'm pretty squeamish, and I had to fight the urge to tell them I changed my mind or take just one of the roosters home with me. I wish I had been able to drop them off somewhere else, but logistically I understand that right next to the kill cones was the easiest for the workers. I was told that the birds would be processed the same day, but they couldn't guarantee if they'd be ready for pickup that day or the next day. And I told them that I live pretty far away, and they said, oh yeah, we're pretty sure it'll be the same day. Now, the website did say it would be the next day, so I was prepared, but they gave me a lot of hope that it would be the same day. And so I went to a coffee shop to do my day job, and they said that they would call me when they were ready, but no one ever called. And I ended up just going home, and I called again in the morning and there was no answer. And so I started driving back, which, like I said, it's at least a 2.5 hour drive, longer with traffic. And on my way, I called back. I called them and there was still no answer. So I just kept driving and hoping that the birds would be ready. And when I got there, the crates that I brought the roosters in were waiting for me, neatly stacked in front of the building, which I found very convenient. I ended up walking into the poultry processing office, which is the office that I tried to walk into the day before. And I found a lady eating her lunch who looked surprised to see me. So I told her I was there to pick up some birds, and she said she would go find a processor. And I asked if I was in the wrong place, and she said, oh, there's no way you could have known. So I'm guessing that I was supposed to just walk into the processing area. On their website, they say go into the office, but, maybe it's changed. So it was kind of confusing and awkward, but I did eventually end up where I needed to be. The person who had checked in my birds the day before recognized me and brought out the roosters, bagged and labeled, and they had the feet in a separate bag. And they also had a credit card machine so I could pay. I went to go get my cooler, and then I paid. I brought 2 coolers because they said bring more coolers than you think you'll need. But I think they meant that for people bringing a lot more birds in. The roosters easily fit into 1 cooler. There was only 4 of them. And they gave me a receipt and also poured loose ice from their ice machine into my cooler. It was enough to keep them cold until I could buy more ice at a gas station for the drive home. But I definitely recommend bringing your own ice. I didn't know if... I don't know if every place will have a ice machine anyways. Okay, so it looks like jukebox was 2 pounds. Let's put it down there. That one's obviously jukebox. This one was 3.9 pounds. £3.3 pounds. And there should be one more in here. Okay. Oh, this one's a big one. Okay. 4.075. So that's going to be original, extra crispy, Spokane, and jukebox. So yeah, all labeled whole rooster. I still don't understand why they couldn't part them, but whatever. And then I also got legs, which I will now feed to my dogs. Well, not now, maybe tomorrow. Overall, it cost $41 for 4 roosters. That's $10.25 per bird. I brought in 1 silky and 3 layer breed fibro barnyard mixes. If they had been Cornish crosses, they would have been a lot cheaper, and they probably would have parted them out. They charge $9 for layer breed roosters and between $5.50 and $7.50 for Cornish crosses, depending on how many you had. Freedom Ranger prices were $1 more expensive than the Cornish cross prices. For turkeys, they charge by the pound depending on the type of turkey, and they had the option for quail and game birds as well. If I ever raise quail again, I'll keep that in mind. Overall, I don't think the driving and headache with communication issues was worth it for only 4 birds. But with more birds, I think it would be worth it for sure. I'm seriously considering coming back next fall with a lot more chickens and some turkeys, maybe some quail, which will let me sell the meat at the farmer's market. Another interesting thing is that they offer custom labels for a one-time fee, so that might be something I look into as well. But for the few number of chickens or roosters that I have that are still growing that will be ready to be butchered in spring, there's only 4 to 6 of them, so I won't be bringing so few birds back. I'm going to be finding some kind of alternative for that. It's just not worth it. I don't yet know how many birds would be worth it. I have to do the math with gas prices and make sure I have a vehicle that can fit the right number of birds. And I've also offered to transport friends' birds for them. So I have to figure out the math on that to see how many of my friends' birds would make it worth it. But anyways, if you've made it this far in the video, thank you. I hope that this info was useful to you. Please let me know if you have any questions in the comments, and I'd really be interested to hear your experiences with poultry processors if you have that as well. But goodbye for now.